timer? Oh, there it goes. I am resident of Collinwood, Joel Sayers for YouTube, joined by Bobby Lugosi. We're here to discuss 1995 from Dark Shadows. So, Julia Hoffman and Barnabas Collins returned from 1970 parallel time, only to discover they're quite not in Kansas anymore. they're, they're they're back in Collinwood, but it's very much decayed, destroyed. The beams have fallen down. The house is a wreck, quite literally. And then they find out they're in the year 1995. No, this isn't Back to the Future. They didn't need no DeLorean. They just came through a parallel time room into the future. So, my first question to you is, what did you think of them coming from 1970 parallel time into the future here?
So this was actually when I first got into Dark Shadows. I got the book Dark Shadows Memories by Catherine Lee Scott, and I looked ahead on the episodes, and like this was the storyline that I was the most excited to see. Like I couldn't like the idea of them going to the future that just like blew my mind, and then I was watching it in order, like on the DVDs I was watching it in order, and then on the Sci-Fi Channel I was watching the 1970s storyline when Gerard was like taking over the house, and they would refer to the 1995 storyline. So this was just a storyline I was so excited and so ready to see, and I loved it when it finally came on.
What did you think of? They're exploring the house and they're seeing it how ruined it is. Like the set is literally destroyed here, and this is really don't get me wrong. Whoever listens to this, yes, Dark Shadows did destroy things. I mean, we saw Barnabas destroy machines and stuff, and Leviathan altars and all that. And we saw the werewolf break through the window, but Collinwood, for the most part, was not touched in that way. It was not destroyed, and here it is literally in shambles. What did you think of that when you first saw that?
Okay, it's so shocking to see it like that. I mean, when you think the closest that it ever came to like the last like big moment, like Hollywood was like going awry, was when the ghost of Quentin took over and like the house was abandoned and you just heard Quentin laughing, and like what a dramatic like how much more frightening is this? You know, where the house is literally in shambles. Like I never expected to see it like that. And it's so I mean, and two, like I knew how the production was, how they didn't have that much time to get it ready. So even just like knowing that it was like a 5 show a week soap opera, I never imagined they would even do such a radical set change to it.
Yeah.
You know, because it's unbelievable that they were able to pull that off so fast.
Yeah, the crew just did a great job making it look just
Yeah.
dark and destroyed. This for me was the darkest I've ever seen Collinwood.
Yeah.
What did you think? Did it look? Was this the darkest you ever seen Collinwood? Do you think?
Oh, absolutely. It was so dark. It was so the eerie quiet of it.
Yeah.
How the leaves were going in. I even felt that the exterior shot that they showed for the opening narration, even that made it look even like decrepit and haunting.
Yeah. This this to me looked way more run down than the old house.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
Was the old house it was just like natural decay, whereas this
yeah.
was you could tell that this was not natural. This was like an evil force that took over
I
because it
feel
just had an evil vibe to it.
Yeah, with the old, for those who don't know, the old house is the house that's across. It's the original Collinwood, and it's the house across the way. It's the house Barnabas, Sarah uh, grew up in, and it had become unused for many, many years after Joshua and his family moved into the Collinwood, the new Collinwood, the Great House, which is on Widow's Hill, which is the house we're talking about being so destroyed. With the old house, it was more. Bobby's right. It's more like run down naturally. It's decayed by time, not a force. and you more see cobwebs and dust with the old house with Collinwood. It's a mess. It's
Yeah,
destroyed. And I loved what Julia says here right away. She goes, could it have been a hurricane? And I love it because we do know that there are violent storms on top of Widow's Hill.
yeah,
And, you know, we've seen very violent storms hit the house. And so I'm thinking, could it have been? And then we find out, no, no, it's
right. Yeah.
not. What did you think of Julia's like explanation? Maybe do you think that could have been a possibility?
I mean, I'm not an expert on hurricane. I mean, I guess so, because I mean, I'm not really an expert on like hurricane damage, but
Mm.
I could see that as being, you know what, is being when you get when you're if that happened to you, that would be like the nearest possible explanation that she would have. You having no idea that something supernatural could have happened. That I think that would be the nearest possible like solution, even though it would have to be like a whopper of a hurricane.
Yeah. Julia starts to feel a presence in the house, and Barnabas feels it too. And we don't get the presence right away, but we're going to. This 1995 kicks off the beginning in a lot of ways of the Judah Zachary arc in every way. Um, it's the ghost of Gerard's house. Um, really, James Storm in this steals a lot of scenes. Really good. What did you think of James Storm as Gerard Stiles here, the ghost of Gerard?
Oh, he's amazing. He gives off such an evil vibe.
Yeah.
You know, the expression, the makeup, that it really is like his facial expression. It just gives such evil vibes that it's like those, like, you know, even though he's not doesn't have that much to do, like every shot of him is so haunting in this storyline.
Like this is like if you ever see the movie, I think it's called House, where there's like these like creatures or like haunted spirits. Now with this, you with Dark Shadows, we know we got ghosts and witches, vampires, wraiths, zombies. To get a ghost this different when we've seen a lot of ghosts by 1995. I mean, we've seen Josette, we've seen Quentin, we've seen Sarah, and to get a completely different ghost, what a creative move. I mean, by the writers, just really smart, and how they do it too. They don't. It's kind of similar to Quentin, but it's not exactly the same thing. Um, what did you think of that? Them using a ghost here?
I thought it was I thought it was perfect because that was, you know, that's, you know, because Collinwood is that's what it's known for, is a haunted house. So I love that they keep going back to that, but they always find a way to like make them each go stand out. And this one, it just like stood out as just being so evil and so powerful, like a ghost that we've never seen before.
Yeah. I always say this. You're welcome, Stephen King. We gave you that, but I really like before they show Gerard, they're building the tension really well. The first we meet Mrs. Johnson, the first character we meet that was in the house, Mrs. Johnson. She's got the white hair. She looks even older. Clarice Blackburn sells this beautifully in the cemetery because they see graves of somebody that was died in 1995 recently, and then that's when Barnabas sees the grave of David Collins, how he died in 1970, and Mrs. Johnson is coming to visit David's grave. What did you think of Clarice Blackburn here as an elderly Mrs. Johnson?
Oh, it's she's so terrified.
Yeah,
She's so terrified, and you know, Mrs. Johnson, she's not like that. She's usually like, you know, pretty, you know, pretty well together. You know, she's, you know, very practical. She doesn't. I think she would say that she doesn't go in for such nonsense,
yeah,
and to just see her terrified. Even the way she is repeating Finley's Cove, Finley's Cove, like it's it's as rattling to see her like that, almost as seeing Collinwood. It's like another institution character just destroyed.
And the fact that Mrs. Johnson was able to pass along a secret message without any ghost picking up on it is just further proof that Mrs. Johnson worked for MI6 at one point. I don't know that, but it would be cool if they did say that. Great, really great character, and you're right. I love how she passes along the message to Barnabas and Julia. Like somebody's living there, they don't know who now. She didn't mention a name, which was really smartly done by the writers and Clarice Blackburn, because she could have just said a name, but no, she says a place.
Yeah.
I love when writers do that. Hey, let's keep the mystery by not revealing who's there. Just, I'll go to this location. What did you think of that?
Oh, I loved it because it just like you said, it kept that mystery going. What is this place?
I love how that's how the first episode ends too of 1995, because they go there and Julie is like looking around. There's things from Collinwood. There's some chairs, and then there's Barnabas's portrait. And Jonathan Frid does something really cool here. I love what he does as Barnabas. Is maybe these are the spoils of war. Maybe this person, this is sort of their trophy. Which I'm like, that's pretty cool. He said that. I think you could be literally coming to the person who caused all this.
Right? Yeah.
What did you think of that?
I like that. I like that they're trying to figure out what's happened. Because that guess is almost like Julia's hurricane guess. Is they're looking at like what would be the most logical explanations.
Yeah, they're not. That's the thing too. They're not looking for ghosts right away.
Right? Yeah.
When they enter 1995 and the destruction of Collinwood, they're looking for a logical sort of answer. Okay, well maybe it was a hurricane. Well maybe it was an actual person that caused it, like a physical flesh and blood human being, and they're living in this sort of this place, and that's why Mrs. Johnson told us to come here. And the fact that they do that makes 1995 all that more fun. So the first episode is the doorknobs turned, and the second episode, surprise, surprise, it's an elderly Carolyn here. What did you think of Nancy Barrett's makeup here?
It was wonderful. She looked because she looked she almost reminded me of like almost. Have you ever seen the documentary Grey Gardens?
No, I have not.
She almost reminds me of Edith Beale from that, who's like she's like a recluse who's like it was like not exactly like mentally stable, and it's just like I wouldn't want to say that about Edith Beale, but it's someone who's very eccentric and isn't quite in touch with the real world, and that's what she reminds me of is how she's like sort like a recluse who's been out of the real world, whose mind has been harmed through all this. It was and I thought the makeup was perfect because in real life, if you see like pictures of Nancy Barrett from that era, she looked so, she still looked wonderful. But Carolyn Stoddard there, like all that she had been through, you could see it on her face.
You want to see a really, for those who are going to watch this, a really cool transformation. There's a couple. There's Nancy Barrett as we first know her in black and white, and then watch 1061, which that's what this, or 1062, sorry, which is this episode that we're talking about. We're talking about the entire arc, but that's the episode where Carolyn comes in and she's all aged. So you have this moment where she's walking into this. She looks so old. She looks like she's been through hell.
Yeah.
And another cool sort of comparison you could use is her as Melanie. She looks so young as Melanie.
Yeah.
She's so thin. Me and Patrick McRae talked about how thin she was.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's like, he's like, why do you think they have her so thin? I'm like, I think because she's supposed to be the youngest, but like Melody. But with this, they have Carolyn looking really old,
Yeah.
and I like how she's like, who are like she doesn't really remember much, and we find out later that she knows the secret. She knows Barnabas's secret. Now we know that Carolyn used to work for Barnabas as his assistant,
Uh-huh.
but she knows Barnabas's secret that he's a vampire, which is like oh.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
Oh,
but
I love how and I love how she's revealed too. How she doesn't want to admit it. How she's like a scene later, and she's like, "The coffin's for him."
she's like, the coffin's for him, the coffin's for her, and then
Right.
she's the coffin's for him, and I'm
Yeah.
like wow, but yeah, like when Barnabas and Julia go to the mausoleum, and even Julia brings it right up to. She goes, "We don't know who knows about this." She
Right.
goes,
Yeah.
so she doesn't really leave him that night, and they keep going to Collinwood. I don't know. I never really get this sheriff's name. I don't think, but or at least I can't remember it. But when she goes to the sheriff and says that there's people going up in Collinwood. She wants them off the property, and so Barnabas and Julia, we've seen Julia lie, we've seen Barnabas lie. I love the lie they tell her. Oh, we were staying in Bangor. We're staying in Bangor. Barnabas, he uses the descendant line so so naturally now.
Uh,
What did you think of that, man?
oh, I loved it. I love how they covered it up,
Yeah.
and Julia's it, and Julia's smile when they're mentioned that they forgot their identification. She's like, "We forgot it. That's all." I love because they're so because Barnabas and Julia, they're so in sync with each other with the cover up. I love that.
Yeah, and I love the off. Some friends brought us here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like,
like I could like I could never lie that well to
right?
anything in my life. Like
But
the
they're
fact
so
I get
used to it by now.
right, I get their acting, but the fact that they're acting out a lie for their characters just
Right?
comes across so damn good.
uh,
Like no one realistically could get away with this, but they do, and it's beautiful.
right? Yeah, yeah.
It's like it's beautiful to watch.
Right?
Uh,
Yeah.
what did you think of the new sheriff here? He knew Carolyn from when she was a lot younger.
Uh, I really liked him. It was I always kind of imagined he was like one of the deputies to Sheriff Patterson or something like that. But I liked him, and I liked how he remembered had like some fond memories of it, but also has to be in denial where he can't like speak about it.
Yeah, he comes across as he doesn't know exactly what happened. He just knows something happened.
Uh,
So, and he just wants people to leave Carolyn alone and not really bother her, that she's been through a lot, and he can sort of see what she's been through just by her look, just by her
uh,
appearance. Um, get some shocking stuff happen here. We get the death of Carolyn. We know David's already dead. We also get the death of Stokes. What to you is the most shocking thing in 1995? You think?
see, probably when Julia is has been turned by the ghost and
That's good.
the and the policeman's about to kill Barnabas.
Yeah.
I think that was like the most shocking turn.
Yeah, because you're not expecting her to betray, even though she's talking with the ghost, she's talking with Gerard. You're not expecting her to go through the betrayal. Um, but when she does, I love how she's crying. She goes, "Don't look at me." She's telling Gerard, "Don't look at me."
Yeah.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me. I love your pick. That is a great pick.
Yeah.
Mine's gonna be Carolyn's death. I just because we've seen her, you know, argue with people, tussle with people, but we've never seen her like killed.
Yeah.
And to see Carolyn Stoddard, Carolyn Collins Stoddard killed, her dead body is the most shocking. When I saw it, I'm thinking, I figured they're just gonna have her like slump, like be okay but possessed, but no, she's dead. And when they opened that door and she's dead, I'm like, they killed Carrie. This wasn't like South Park, like they killed Kenny, they killed Carrie.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
but but I was so shocked by that. And when I went back and rewatched it again here, I'm like, man, that is still so shocking to me. I love your selection. I love your selection too. Julia's turn is shocking as hell. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying how this storyline has so many twists and turns.
Yeah, it does.
Like it just because really, I mean, both of our answers are like because your answer is great too, but it's because there's so many like even seeing Stokes like that, he was such a pillar of strength.
Yeah.
Now Stokes is there when Stokes is terrified, you have problems.
Yeah. What did you think of an elderly Professor Stokes who is a bit of a broken man here?
I was It was shocking. It was shocking to see him like that. The way he was, because you could tell he's like terrified, like you said, a broken man, and it was and just to compare him with how the Stokes we knew, who went up against Angelique and went up against the Ghost of Quentin. This Stokes he's been terrified by what he's seen.
I love how we're gonna find out that Quentin's is in Wincliffe, but before that, there's a man who tells a story about his wife, how they went up to Collinwood on a dare, and he tells the story to Barnabas and Julia about what happened to his wife Jean. This story, even though they don't show a flashback with it, feels such a gut punch, and it really sets up for what a lot's going to happen later. What did you think of the the young man's story?
Oh, it was so haunting. It was
Yeah.
so haunting. I love, and I am actually really glad they didn't do a flashback because it kept the mystery. It kept it more of a mystery.
Yeah.
But just like hearing his like acting, the way he told it, like, and it's like they're like at that point that's their biggest clue to what's going on there.
Yeah, it felt like he was taught. It feels like when you watch when you watch one of those paranormal investigation shows and an eyewitness is talking and how terrified they are. It reminds you of that a bit
Yeah,
with this. And I'm with you. I love that they have no flashback because it gives the guy's story even more weight because what happens to Gene is what Julie is going to experience later on.
yeah, yeah.
And it's so good. It's like something falls and it almost hits her. And really so they know that this house is now possessed, that a ghost haunts this house. And Julia is the one who sees him right away. Barnabas doesn't. He's still a vampire, obviously. So he thinks he's immune. And
Right.
really, the vampire is not revealing himself to Barnabas quite yet, which is really interesting. What did you think of that sort of gamesmanship by the ghost not revealing himself to Barnabas right away?
I think it really showed you how smart Gerard was.
Yeah,
He knew to go through Julia first.
yeah.
And you get the sense from Gerard that. Do you believe that Gerard knew he was a vampire and sensed it?
I do because keep in mind too, we know this is Judah Zachary too, messing around.
Right. Yeah.
And he's trying to he who does he want to destroy? The Collins family. What's Barnabas? A Collins.
Right. Yeah.
And now and there's a thing too when you go back to 1970 when Carrie and Tad who possessed David and Stokes's niece when they try to like make a they make a figure to stick in the dollhouse, and it's a figure of Barnabas. Well, when that figure gets put in the dollhouse, it gets booted out the dollhouse and like I think burned. I know it gets booted out the dollhouse. I can't remember if it gets burned. It's because he knows Judah Zachary knows what Barnabas is. He can't afford to let him into the dollhouse and confront him that way. Because if he's in there as a manifestation of the dollhouse, he can't destroy him. Like he can't try to destroy him. Find a way to destroy him now. Sorry, I went a long way about answering that.
No, and I'm glad you did because that's the impression I get too, that and so that he knows that like the Barnabas is more powerful being a vampire, so he wants to go in that way, attack the ones when he cares about, and go like and attack Barnabas through that.
Yeah, and he knows physically he can't do anything to Barnabas. So he's got to get somebody who can or will. So his possession, him sort of seducing Julia, does allow him to have Julia turn on Barnabas. Like you point out, it's a shocking turn. It is. Because they are so close at this point. They trust each other like Butch and Sundance.
Yeah.
But the fact that she goes to the sheriff and we see the sheriff standing over his coffin, holding the cross and getting ready to pump Barnabas full of lead, 6 silver bullets, and here's the ghost of Carrie, who just appears to save Barnabas's ass. What did you think of Carrie appearing there?
That was I liked it because you knew you had to get out of that situation,
Yeah.
and it did make sense because we've seen her ghost appear before when they're dancing, and then you saw the ghost of David, so it was a surprise, but they set it up well.
What did you think? Barnabas and Julie, you're right. Barnabas and Julie are spying on David and Carrie, or actually, it's actually Tad and Carrie, and they're dancing. What did you think? I like how they have this cute little dance in here. What did you think?
I really did too. It felt like ghosts, like just like ghosts who were just like constantly reliving the past.
Yeah.
So I really like that.
It's nice to see too because we know there's a lot of dark stuff going on, but it gives a more touching, surreal moment to the ghost.
It does, yeah. That these were. It's not just like they're sort of. You see their innocence in that moment, and you're on their side.
Yeah,
and you see that they're they've been trapped by Collinwood too.
Yeah, it makes you want to root for the ghost a bit. Like you feel sorry for them, but you don't feel sorry for Gerard Stiles.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sorry. But yes. Are you done? No, I'm not. But with this episode, what did you think of? Oh God, I'm trying to think. Oh, when Julia is when Gerard's over Julia, like smiling, and she's just crying, sitting there crying in the old house. What did you think of that?
Oh my God, that was so powerful. That was so powerful because Julia she's just a character I've always cared about, and just to see her that tormented, I thought it was a really frightening moment of the series.
I did. There's a moment too where Stokes is watching Julia, and he sees her talking to somebody, but he's not sure. He's like, "Who are you talking to?" And that's when she's like being seduced by Gerard, and she's like, "Oh, nobody." And he's like in his mind, like, "No, I saw somebody standing there." And when he walks away, there you see Gerard standing there, which is creepy.
Right? Yeah.
But that's a nice little moment by Stokes. They're gonna make him perform a seance, not an exorcism, a seance. which is going to result in his death. What did you think of that?
Well, what Dark Shadow storyline would be complete without one? You know.
Absolutely. Right. Right.
Right, it's like the A team with the seances, is, Stokes, Julia, and Barnabas. So I really liked it. It seemed like that was definitely like that would be the solution they would go to, and I thought it was a really it was actually one of my favorite seances of the whole series.
Yeah, it's the entire seance is actually done by Barnabas himself, which is really cool.
Yeah,
We don't see him do a ton of them. We see him participate in some of them, but it's not like he's the the head person doing the seance all the time.
right,
Which
yeah,
it was fun to see Jonathan Frid get to have that fun and perform the seance.
yeah, it was, yeah.
But what did you out of all we get a lot of cool sets, obviously always in Dark Shadows. What was your favorite set in 1995?
Collinwood. It was just so. I still can't get over how they were able to do that so quickly, because it like Julie said, it looks like a hurricane went through the wall. It's all twisted. It gives you an evil vibe, and it's amazing they were able to pull that off so fast.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. This Collinwood looks just so good, even when it's destroyed, and because it looks scary.
Yeah,
It's that's what I mean by looking good. It looks good and scary.
yeah. It's like all twisted and on each other. I mean, it looks just frightening to look at on its own.
Yeah. What did you think of the playroom?
I really like it. I thought that was a really neat idea of the disappearing playroom.
Yeah, it felt like such a creepy call because you knew like when you saw it, you know there's going to be a darker meaning to this,
Right? Yeah, yeah,
but it looked so good as a set
yeah,
itself. The fact that the way they do it in 1970 as well, when they actually first showed the playroom in 1970, it still looks as good.
it does. Yeah,
So I'm with you. I love the fact that they have this creepy but fun playroom that just
yeah,
disappears. And it's like, man, that's a cool looking playroom, but it's like, yeah, don't go in there.
right. Yeah.
Don't go in there.
uh,
It's I really like the fact too when the sheriff opens. That's when we see Carolyn's dead body laid out. We see the flowers, and Barnabas says how Gerard has a sixth sense of humor. The ghost has sixth sense, and I love how he shouts to the top of his lungs, like, "You won't get away with it!" Like,
yeah.
yeah, that's one determined vampire. What did you think of Carolyn's dead body laid out like that?
It was so eerie. It was so eerie. And such a. I mean, like, and these are all like Carolyn. She's been there since the beginning. It's the character we really care about.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like that. It's so like creepy, sad all at the same time, and like the sheriff too. Like everybody sells this beautifully. Like all three actors sell this in their own way, and I love how each of them have a different way of selling it. Barnabas is sort of sad and angry. Julie is in shock, even though she's sort of working for Gerard at this point. She's still in shock that like
Yeah,
did you really have to kill her? And she even asked him that. And then there's the sheriff who's known Carolyn ever since she was, younger. And he's just sad and he can't believe this girl is in this position. I like how he's like, well, I got to go get my men. I don't even know if they'll want to come up in here, but
yeah,
I got to get them to come in here and take photos and get the body out after that. And which is really cool. Julia volunteers to stay with the body, which is cool. Trying to think. If there's anything I missed in 1995, I probably did. But let's see. Oh, what did you think of David Collins as Tad Collins and Kathy Cody as Carrie Stokes.
I really liked them. They gave a very ghostly performance. I feel like they did a really good job of us being spirits.
Yeah.
You really you felt that otherworldly quality with them, and I thought they both did a really great job.
I realized
David Hennessy always impresses me. Like when you compare like when you compared like all the other like great child actors of that era, because he's doing this show live on tape just like everybody else.
what did you? Quentin escapes from Smith's Grove, or sorry, my mind went to Halloween. to, from Wycliffe, but from Wycliffe Sanitarium. I promise I'll get the name right the next time. But for Wycliffe, Quentin escapes for Wycliffe. He comes back and he can't believe Barnabas and Julie are back, but he is so crazy. He almost destroys his own portrait, which is really shocking. But then Barnabas decides to lock it in the attic. Okay, you're not. I'm not giving you the opportunity to show yourself here. What did you think of Crazy Quentin?
Wow, it was like another one of those shockers because Quentin's been emotionally intense, but to just see him that rattled and that terrified, like it was another it was and usually he's so confident, so it was another real shocker to see him like that.
Yeah, it was. It just here's this guy who's super cool, super laid back, who charms the hell out of women.
Yeah,
He's just completely all but gone. I mean, he's ready to destroy his portrait. He's begging for the ghost of Daphne Heritage to appear to him. And speaking of, what did you think of Daphne Heritage, the character, the ghost?
I really liked her. I like how she's very mysterious. How she's sort of in the middle of Gerard and the children, where she doesn't seem evil like Gerard, but there's a darkness to her too. And you're not sure about her.
There's a great moment in 1970. When they go back. There's a bunch of them, but I'll point to one specifically. When when Quentin tells Daphne that Gerard wants to hurt the children, and she's shaking her head no, it's because she honestly believes that Gerard doesn't mean the kids any harm. And it immediately made me think of Julia in this time in 1995. Like, did she honestly? You get why Julia is seduced by him because he puts on some sort of weird charm, but he doesn't imply what he's going to do until after he has you under his control. You know, which is like sick as hell.
Right? Yeah.
But Daphne, yeah, I'm with you. Really great performance by the actress that played her. I know she went on to go do Charlie's Angels. Oh my gosh!
And they're able to do so much without like having dialogue.
Yep, that's the thing too. 1995. There's no dialogue for the ghost.
Uh-huh.
There's no dialogue for Daphne. To be fair, yes, James Storm mouths something, but I think he just mouths Gerard to let Julia know who he is.
Yeah.
But he doesn't actually have physical lines. He's not speaking. He's not like you're right, there's no lines by these ghosts, which that makes it all the more fun to watch.
Right. Yeah. And they're so great at playing that because they all have that ethereal, ghostly quality.
Yeah. I mean it's creepy to the core.
It
When I
is.
when I watch the 1995 arc, I know they're not, but it makes me feel like George A. Romero is directing Dark Shadow.
It is. Well, it's because there's a apocalyptic element to it. There really is, because it just everything's been destroyed. Collinwood's been destroyed, and the characters have been destroyed.
Maybe George snuck on set and said, "Action!" No, that would be cool, but no, that didn't happen. We're all George A. Romero fans. But,
yeah. More like the Dark Shadows writer. We could rip off him, right?
Sam Hall. Like, hey, are you George A. Romero? Are you directing this episode? Yes, Sam. Okay. Like, what do you, like, literally, what would you say? Like,
right, yeah.
But that would have been fun.
Right.
How cool would it have been for, I'm trying to think of his, for Rod Serling to play a character on Dark Shadows, you think?
Oh, he would have been great. Oh, can you imagine him even doing the opening narration?
Yeah, that would be all. I said this a while. I've been saying this. Like, if I had to pick somebody, if they ever did, because they did do Satan, but if they would have casted a physical form for the devil to come up out of hell, and like, I would have chose Rod Serling.
He would have been perfect.
You know, is there somebody you would have picked from the '60s?
If Joan Bennett could talk Vincent Price into doing it, that would be good.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Great pick. Vincent Price is the man.
Right. I mean, what a cameo that would be, like, because you'd never expect. But with Joan, because it seemed like they were, because I know there's a picture with, isn't there a picture of Vincent Price like visiting the set?
Yeah, they were doing something. I forget what it was, but they're in a picture together. Joan Bennett and Vincent Price, classic picture. Oh, really, really cool. Vince, let me put it this way: go listen to Michael Jackson's Thriller. The scariest part in that video is Vincent Price doing the voice.
That's my favorite part. Yeah.
Yeah, jeez, like I'm like, that's Vincent Price. My grandmother.
The first time I heard it, I couldn't believe, like holy cow, it's really him. Like
my grandmother's like, and out of all your cousins, only you know who that is. Like, it's goddamn Price. But yeah, cool video. But I like the shark repellent video, Bobby.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
I have to give a compliment to that. Funny story. I actually dressed as I had to wear women's stockings once for a play. We were doing a play as an elf, elves, a Christmas play, and they said we can't paint your legs green, so you have to wear women's stockings. And I said to my mom, I said, I need a pair of one of your green stockings. And she goes, I want you to know, I'm proud of you. I always wanted a girl. Like, no, it's for me to play it out. But that's my fun Christmas play story. Is there anything you want to add about 1995 before we go?
I just what a wonderful storyline it is. It's because I was thinking. I think it really. It's like it's their scariest moments. It's because it's such a frightening storyline. It's so haunting, and the Barnabas and Julia relationship is at its its dramatic height too. It's just wonderful all the way around.
Yeah. Go follow Bobby on Facebook, Bobby Lugosi. Go check out his channel, Dusty Old Movies. I'll leave a link to the TikTok and his YouTube channel is going to be in the description box. Go check them both out. Man, thank you so much for coming on this weekend. This was really cool to do with you. 1995. How's next? How's Monday? You good Monday?
Yeah, this Monday. Yeah, Monday should be good.
Yeah. Is 11 too late for you?
Is that 11 o'clock your time?
Yeah, 11 my time, but it would be like an hour earlier your time.
No, that should be fine.
Okay, I know sometimes my kids are still. That's why I asked, as you heard in the background. Let's talk about the release of Barnabas Collins. Let's talk about Jason McGuire, Willie Loomis. I want to talk about that with you for sure for Monday. So, Bobby, I will see you Monday night, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Have a good night, buddy.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.